First of all, I would like to apologize for us getting started a little bit later than what we thought. I think that as we progress and as we get better technology and we get more used to this, I think we'll be able to start exactly right on time. And I'd like to first of all thank our staff, Corey, Tracy, Tessa, Melissa, for assisting us in getting ready. Tony isn't here tonight, but Tony Lara has been an integral part of our team as well. And I would like to thank the servers. Next, I'd like to thank Carol for the prayer over the food as well as for tonight. Thank you very much. You're our matriarch, our warrior woman here, and really appreciate all that you do to always support. No matter who's in council, who's chief, no matter what, your love is always for Cowessess, and you always support. So thank you very much for providing that leadership. So I'd like to also acknowledge all of the members that are here in person, as well as those who are joining us by Zoom. How many do we have right now, Corey?
Right now we have 70.
We have 70 on Zoom. So everybody give yourselves a round of applause. So right now, what we're in the middle of, just to start very, very informally, is that we're putting together a communications plan, and a communications plan that is very responsive to everybody's needs. And I know that our staff are working hard on it, and I really appreciate that as well. Tonight we decided to call it the State of the Nation because this is a snapshot of exactly where your council is today. And to be able to give an idea of the incredible work that has been done by your council as well as by the staff that represent all of us as members and the incredible work that they do as well. So I want to acknowledge all of the staff and the work that they do. There isn't much of an agenda tonight except for us talking about what we have done to date. And then after that, we are going to have our flood claim audit, which is going to be very, very short, but it is a legal requirement. And we'll talk a little bit more at that time. So I'd like us to start the slideshow. It's me who has to start the slideshow. There we go. First of all, for those especially that are new on Zoom, just for a little bit of introduction, I am the chief, Erica Bowden, and we have Councillor Terry Lara. Stand up, please. We have Councillor Curtis Delorme. Councillor Brandon Pelche. Councillor Malcolm Delorme. Councillor Allison Whiteman. Councillor Joshua Sagan. Councillor Ira Sagan. And last but not least, Councillor John Z. Lara. Our Cowessess First Nation Executive Admin team is Melissa Lara, who is the Executive Director. Shannon Delorme, Assistant to the Executive Director, and she's not here, but honestly, what am I doing? But Shannon is absolutely amazing and just an essential part of our team. Tessa Cook, who is my Executive Assistant. And Tracy Sparvier, who is the Executive Assistant to Chief and Council. So I'm going to talk a little bit about where we're at and in terms of what exactly this governance model looks like. We, as of the 24th, that was our 6-month anniversary. Our 6-month anniversary as working together as a team. And many of us, when we sat together on April 25th, and we met on April 25th, and the first thing that we did was we held a pipe ceremony right in Chief and Council chambers. And that was to ensure that we would always hold true to where we came from, as well as acknowledge and feel the responsibility and what we needed to do to be there on behalf of the ancestors before us, those of us who are here today, and those yet unborn. And as the chief, what was very, very important to me, and as we sat around and talked, realized that it was equally important to each and every one of us that you elected, was unity. When we went on the campaign trail, when we heard from everybody that we sat with, and all of us sat with a good cross-section of people, and within our 4,500 members, because as 4,500, we are the largest band in Treaty 4. And so we hold a lot of weight in terms of the eyes that are upon us, as well as all of the advancements that we make as a nation. And when we sat and we talked, after we prayed together, and that was really important that we pray together. The first thing that we did was we prayed together. We talked about the reasons why we ran was because of the love of our people and the love of our lands and the love of our nation, and how we wanted to work together and to make sure that we did what we needed to do together. And so we have spent a lot of time together, and that time has been very, very well spent in terms of getting to know each other, as well as keeping each other accountable and transparent in how we are. We've seen each other joking around, we've seen each other grouchy, we've seen each other, we've gone through some deaths together, we've gone through some births together, some weddings, some graduations. We've really gone through a lot of things together already as a council. And that has brought us, all of those things have brought us together and more committed than ever in working in unity for our people. And not only in unity, but in advancement. Because we have an exciting, not only 4 years, but a very, very exciting future ahead of us as Cowessess people, as our homelands right here on Cowessess First Nation, and then branching out for our people that aren't fortunate enough to live on the reserve, that have decided through choice or because they haven't yet been able to move back home, they're making their lives and having families off the reserve. When we looked at exactly how we're going to do this, how we're going to always have the best minds and hearts and spirits in doing what we're doing, how we were going to keep each other accountable and responsible, how we started off with prayer and the medicines and the words and the smoke going up to Creator, understanding that we're sitting as Indigenous people, as Indian people, Cowessess people. We were born with our inherent rights. And with those inherent rights come the responsibilities. And those are the rights of our lands, our waters, having clean waters, air, our right to self-govern, our right to raise our children the way that we want to, in that best way possible, that mio pamatsuin, in that. And then on top of that, how our treaty rights sit on top of those inherent rights, and how we know that our ancestors were so intelligent and so brilliant that they knew that we would need these treaties in order to share the land. And by that, what we often see through the Indian Act as well as INAC, unfortunately, and all of those other external types of governments, is the best way to say that they attempt, even though they will never say it, to fulfill some treaty right obligations is through their programs and services. And so when we looked at how we wanted to represent and how we wanted to best look at our responsibilities as inherent rights holders as well as treaty rights holders, we looked at a basis or a more traditional form of governance, not based on portfolios, but areas of responsibilities that are based on treaty and inherent rights. As well, within that, in order to provide, once again, support to each other, as well as accountability, and as well as to have more than one person there where membership can go to, that we in fact have as the assignments 3 counselors responsible in every area. And that was for the membership. That was so membership always had somebody that they could go to. If they didn't feel comfortable going to one of the counselors, or if they felt as though that they were heard from another one. And then for the counselors themselves, because there's several meetings that go on in each of these areas, that they would be there to support with those external as well as internal meetings. And so for right now, what we have is we have building and infrastructure, education, health and well-being, lands and resources, community safety, livelihood. And in the middle, you will see that what connects everything is the chief and council. So while we have 3 council members on each of those assignments or responsible for those areas, in actuality, when we're around that council table, we hold equal responsibility for ensuring that as rights holders for all of us, that we take on that responsibility. And some of those would be, for example, culture and language. It would be any sort of special types of initiatives that come up, such as right now, and I will talk about it, is having, is our 1907 land claim. It's about sharing responsibility in all of those areas. So I'm not going to go through all of the assignments, but these are the assignments that people have, as well as what we have also done together is to ensure that although each of these council members are taking the lead at this time, that we information share amongst all of us. And there will be probably in about another, probably up to 3 months, and we will decide as a council where we will have the councillors responsible have a shift so that we can actually have different council members always knowing what is going on in every area. Because once again, we're not trying to create experts, but we're trying to be responsive to the membership. This is your Chief and Council snapshot. So as of October 25th, and I would like to also acknowledge Dennis, one of our elders here, and one of our most esteemed. And I remember him and his lovely wife from when I was a little girl. And they've known me since I was a little girl. And he talked to me about a month ago, and he said, I'm not trying to be disrespectful here, but I'm coming to say that our community needs to know what's going on. And I said to him, absolutely, and we are going to do better. And tonight is us holding on to that promise, Dennis, that I said in October we will do this. Because what we always want to make sure is that if we aren't doing things in the way that our membership want us to, then we're going to make sure that we are going to do what we need to do in order to meet what needs to be done. And so thank you, and we always want to hear what is needed from all of our membership. And that was one request, and that's how tonight happened. and we will listen. And so as of tonight, myself, I've participated in and this is documented. This has actually been documented by Tony as well as Tessa. So I have personally participated in 168 meetings and 23 community or special events in the 183 days I've been elected to office. Now, that is highlighting myself as chief, but I want to say that our council, these 8 people that you elected, have been beside me the entire time, and it was only because we couldn't be completely accurate with their schedules that we didn't put a number down, but I will verify myself that I would have to say that it is at the very, very least in those 168 meetings for myself, that your council has participated in at least 130 to 140 of those meetings. And the majority of the meetings have been in council chambers with council staff, community partners, and for the most part, we're in those chambers from 9:30 to 5 p.m. A lot of times we're the last ones who leave the office, in fact. And just to give you a little bit of idea, and once again, it could only come from me because we weren't able to verify with council, I've received over 3,500 emails, and I do take between 5 to 7 membership calls and requests per day. So, and this is all documented. This is not hearsay. And when I got this information from Tessa and Tony, I thought I should go to sleep because I got tired just by looking at it. But the reason why we wanted to show this was because we wanted to show our membership how hard we all work for you. I am so proud to sit with these 8 people. You, as membership, in choosing me to be chief, I don't have a vote, but I do lead a team. And you, as membership, have given me, as chief, the best team that I really feel that I could possibly have. They are so passionate. They come to work every day. They don't complain about, that coming to be at the office by 9:30 in the morning. We often, I would say 90% of the time, we meet through lunch. We don't even stop for lunch, to tell you the truth, most days that we meet. And much of this has been, in these past 6 months, especially in the first 3 and 4 months, have been about us listening and learning. And that is also a form of traditional governance, where we didn't come in and say, oh, I know the best, and I know how to do this, and this is what I'm going to do, and what we came in and said, this is what we heard from the people. And we put it down, and we talked about what we heard from the people. And then we brought in staff, we brought in membership, we brought in the people that were in charge of those files, and we listened to exactly where that was. And that we did together. And so membership didn't see a lot of movement from us from, the first week, the first month, in the sense of coming in and fist pounding on the tables and saying, oh, past governments or past leadership did this wrong, and past leadership, we never wanted to be that council, because we stand on the shoulders of every chief and council that came before us. We stand on the shoulders of the knowledge keepers and the people that we represent and serve. There are good things, there are bad things, there are ugly things, but amongst all of those are lessons. And so whatever we inherited in that good, bad, and ugly, we take on with respect and acknowledgement, as well as a commitment to work hard forward. So for myself, just very quickly, I guess we'd say, is that a lot of people are wondering about the 1907 claim. And Am I, who's supposed to talk about the '07? Okay. These guys, see, they're like, they look at each other with eyes. I'm starting to recognize how they look at each other with eyes. So, their looks. I swear, it's like I'm either a daughter, a niece, or a big sister, honest to God, through it. And so, with the 1907 claim, we're so proud to say that past leadership and those who are still living and not with us have done an amazing job to get us to where we are today. And we are very proud to say that although we haven't gotten the letter and we're just getting to the point of that final negotiation stage where there's actually going to be numbers, is that we're looking at most likely between 18 and 24 months before the 1907 claim will be able to go to membership, and we will be able to see the results of that. Already, what we can say is that at the very least, that the numbers that we've been given initially will have us be the largest claim in Western Canada. So, as well within that is two other claims. And we've been getting asked about those as well. Agricultural benefits, which is otherwise known as cows and plows, as well as what is called financial mismanagement by the Indian agent in the early 1900s. And so right now, we are just in the final stages of the 1907, and we are preparing to actually tender out, as well as to look at putting in the claim, the submission claim for the ag bens or the cows and plows. And that is a separate land claim, or a separate specific claim that we also have been told from just initial reports of research that we will be above and beyond the $150 million amount that is formula-based, and that we have enough to prove that we actually are in line for a larger settlement. That is just what we've been told right now. As we prepared for the 1907, we realized that there are a lot of lessons to learn from other communities and other nations, both good and bad. But the best thing that we learned is that we need to prepare. We need to prepare for the wealth that is coming. And when we're talking about wealth, we're not just talking about financial wealth. We're talking about the wealth that we were born with and we were meant to, that mio Pamatsuin, that goodness that Creator wanted for us, but also how the 1907, being smart and being strategic, we will be able to put together opportunities both individually and collectively, both on our homelands here, but also for our membership that live off reserve. And much of the work that we're doing right now is to prepare for the day when those dollars reach our accounts. And that means programs and services that deal with, that will help an individual, because we know that we know most likely there will be a personal payout, right? We know that there'll be an individual payout, but we also know that there's going to be an immediate community benefit. And then we also know that there's going to be long-term benefits with investments in how that looks. Saying that, we know that there's going to be opportunity and need for programs and services in all areas, that there's going to be opportunity for us to build like we haven't built before, that there will be opportunities for housing, infrastructure, that we will be able to look at additional monies for whether it be education, health, all types of things if we are smart and we are strategic and we have that plan. In one of our strategic planning sessions, actually just a week and a half ago, we talked about, as a council, how could we be self-sustaining as Cowessess First Nation in 10 years, in 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. And that's the plan that we are making, is that yes, we will always accept government money, but more so than that, in order to be truly sovereign and self-sustaining and honoring our stewards of the land on our homelands, as well as those who reside off reserve, how do we smartly and strategically work with our community, listen to our community in order to get ready for when the 1907 comes in. Next is communications, and I just spoke about that a little bit, is that we are working on a communications plan, including both on our radio station, as well as on Zoom, as well as on good old paper with newsletters, as well as on, I guess, the net. Is that, I'm getting old now, I forget what they're called. The World Wide Web. we will be having updates, and we are committed to at least one post a day on one area that is happening, whether it's, health doing COVID shots. So that is what we're looking at. Multi-generational learning. This is part of the buzzword is decolonization. But really what we're talking about is honoring all ages that are from prenatal all the way to when we make our final ceremony to meet our ancestors. Is how do we get back that multi-generational learning? How do we get back to those times when, I'm 52 years old right now, but I remember being in this hall when I was a little girl, whether it was for weddings or if it was for funerals, whatever the case was, anniversaries, all you would see are people coming through the door with, cakes or cabbage rolls or whatever the case was, because as a community we supported each other and we brought food. That was part of it. And that is what we're committed to as well when we talk about that unity, is getting back to, instead of having 3 or 4 people that's always responsible for activities and counting on those people who, like me, I'm 52 years old right now, who are starting to age now and that are starting to get a little bit tired and can't do the 10, 12, 14 hours making bannock in one day kind of thing. So we're committed to activities where we bring in those multi-generational, where we hand down that knowledge as men, as women along the spectrum to the younger people as well, so that the younger people know what it's like to be that community and to be part of that community and to feel that identity in that community, which we feel will also allow for us to have, just by nature of that identity, less addictions, less mental health type of things. We have also done something in looking at being rights holders and responsibility holders of the inherent and treaty rights, is that what we know is from our history is how rich our history is together, and how diverse, even within the people who are in our 4,500 people, the diversity in there, but also the commonalities of it, and the tribes within it, as well as how we've all been within these last 70, 80 years, and how we want to get what was taken to us. We are a mission reserve, and many of us have either gone through industrial school, residential school, day school, or all of them. And so in order to get back, and this is an individual choice, but how do we give opportunity for those who would like to learn language and culture and even perhaps spirituality, which is the spirituality I will not talk on because it's so personal to each and every one of us, but to have opportunity within that. So there was, when we came onto council, some work that was being done in terms of language, some language stuff as well as some cultural stuff, but it was very much pocketed, and it was based on grant funding. And what we decided was that our people, our nation, our community members deserved more than just that we needed to prioritize that. So in fact, we've brought in a language and culture unit that will actually work with all areas within Cowessess, as well as our entities, and provide opportunity for those who live off reserve. And we actually have a language instructor that will stay with us for 1 year. And we have seconded him from the University of Brandon, and Cree is his first language, but his education is in using language as cultural revitalization. That's one of his specialties. And so it doesn't matter what language that you choose to use, it will be supported. And just as a side note, his mentor and who taught him is somebody who's dear to many of our hearts, who came into our community and taught us some of the Cree language, and that's late Darren Okamesom. And so Bill Cook is here for the year, and he will be working as a language lead. And then we have Grady Leroy, who will be acting as the culture lead, as well as Clarice Delorme, who will be also acting as a culture lead, because one of the other areas that we're looking at is the revitalization of the different roles within. So the male role, the female role, and those are along the spectrum in between the male and the female roles as well. And to support people in learning language and culture. The next thing is the Election Act. So we are in the position right now where we are required to, as a nation, look at our Election Act and to see if any amendments need to be made. And within the Election Act, there are 2 engagements that we must have at the very least with our membership. And so we will be taking our Election Act out for when we go through our Christmas dinners, as well as we will be having sessions right here in our community, as well as in our other urban areas. And we will also have, at that time, there will also, by the end of April, we will have the membership deciding on what our Election Act is going to look like and what those amendments are going to look like. So we really need a lot of support, as well as all the things that you could dream of. All the things that you could dream of, not only with the Election Act, but with opportunity that we're looking for, especially with the 1907. So we're very excited to start looking at how we can engage and how we could have more voice from our 4,500 members, and Election Act will be the first one to go out. So we talked about the money that we found for the language and culture unit so that it's not piecemealed. Well, we've also found enough money for a legislative and policy team, which means that we are going to look at all of our legislation as well as our policies, and we're going to see how they all work together with our Constitution, our Mio Pimitsawin Act, and within our different departments, and how they work even within our joint venture partnerships, as well as our economic development areas. Who will lead that team is, well, unofficially right now, and I'm putting her on there, is we have an amazing band member who's really helped us out, and she's really done a lot of really, really great work. And we all know Tony Leroy, and she's just a wonderful person, and very smart and knowledgeable. And she's been with our community now for the last 18 months, so she really knows exactly what and where and how to work with people regardless of who you are. And she will be leading the team that we will bring on some legal experts, but also staff members themselves right now, as well as us as the governance team, and then getting the direction from our membership on what is needed within our legislation, as well as our policies and our bylaws. I was only supposed to talk for 5 minutes. Next is the C92 negotiations. And we had our first official meeting last Friday. And there are two parts to the C92 negotiations, which are the fiscal agreement and the coordination agreement. Now, we have two counselors that are going to also speak to that, so I'm going to leave it for them to speak about. But what I will say about the C92 negotiations is that those negotiations will impact our community in regards to programs and services. And we will also have new opportunity within these negotiations with post-majority, which was not even a thing back 2 years ago. And also we will be looking at how we as a community follow through and give the best meal pamatsuin for our children and families and support our children and families. And that's once again coming into multi-generational, because many of our kokums and mushums also look after their grandchildren. So how to support our older people that have taken on through their love of their grandchildren or other family members as well. For the IRS Indian Residential School, there's also, once again, I'm only touching on this, but we know that we have a history here. We know that we not only have a history of industrial, Indian residential school, day school, but also a church that was here, that was a mission church that also served the non-Indigenous communities around us. And so when we look at the impacts and the legacy that we all have with it, we're looking at how we can be truth tellers about that, but also provide whatever an individual needs with programs and services, with just being here with the lending, to lend an ear or whatever the case is, so that we move towards, instead of what was taken from us, but what was always intended for us, which was that Creator's love and abundance. So that's what we're looking for with Indian Residential School. My last point, I bet you guys are glad, is the land use plan. So within that 1907, there's going to be, like we said, plenty of opportunity within that 1907. And much of especially on the homelands here, much of where community buildings went, where houses went, our subs, it was based on funding. It was based on funding opportunity, and we were told how to spend the money, where to spend the money, and we did the best that we could. Now with the 1907, and in preparation for that 1907, we're able to look at what historically our homelands here have been used for, the families who used them, lived on them, broke the land on them, and all the way from that very much that historical part, all the way to contemporary, where we have subdivisions and we have community. We're going to, and this is going to be announced, and we're very excited about some announcements tonight, is that we need to make that plan for when that money drops, that our homelands here have that plan where we are the ones who determine where our community buildings go, where our houses go, and the best way for us to live that Mio Pimotsuin. And that will be coming from that land use plan, both on reserve here, but also in discussions of those lands, those TLE lands that have been purchased, whether they were in Broadview, whether they were in Yorkton, Regina, Saskatoon, and to see the best uses for those places as well, which may include residential. We don't know, but the sky is the limit. Jokingly, we say this, but I say this, is that we are the can-do council because we are not working and managing poverty. We're about here standing on the shoulders of the strengths of our ancestors and the leadership before us and thinking about the future. And we are always looking for what we can do as opposed to what government and other types of stinking thinking has told us what we can't do. Finally, what I can say is that there is, right now, there hasn't been a good accounting of own source revenue for our nation. And much of this has been because there has been antiquated or I guess, procedures and policies that did not take into consideration our current state. And what we say is we're the Council of 2023 moving and forward. And so we are very committed to membership receiving the best services and programs that you are entitled to. And the way that we can do that is to ensure that all of our admin and finance policies and procedures are responsive and they are meant for you, the people. And that we have enforcement in those policies in order to ensure that if you aren't satisfied, that there is a roadmap and a way for you, a process for you to be heard. And that's another thing that we're very much committed to. So that is what I can talk about on behalf of us, but that's only a little bit because we have 8 other people that are going to talk about some really, really exciting things. Oh, I just saw an eye roll. But we got, but that's okay because I think that you guys will be excited over the next thing. So, oh shoot, somebody wants water here. Oh, I'm going backwards. So next, the first one is Councillor Terry Leroy. And we'll see how good he's doing with his 5 minutes.
She put me on the spot here. Thank you, Chief, for giving that introduction. And I'd like to thank Carol for the prayer for the gathering here tonight and welcome all the elders. When I look over the crowd here, I see mostly elders, which is wonderful, but I see a bunch of mixture of other band members. When I see the elders, it's a great thing to see because they're the ones that are going to bring the word back to our community. They're the ones that are respected. They're the ones that are going to go and talk to each individual family member. We all know the family members listen to their elders and their family. If you grew up in my family, we still listen to Mom. You know, it's a great thing to see you all here. I guess you got me up on lands and resources. I would like to touch on all my appointments. I am with O&M, which is operations maintenance, and I feel comfortable in that position because of the work experience I have. Back in the early 90s, I worked within O&M on the First Nation, mainly well, I guess I started here when they started building the subdivision down here, right from nothing to the end. So I'm pretty familiar with all the infrastructure that goes into O&M, right from the water and sewer to the buildings, the roads. I ran the backhoe out here for quite a while, and then I worked out with GB Construction for a number of years, over 12 years. traveling all over two of the western provinces here while I was in Manitoba, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, doing subdivisions and building roads and everything that entails O&M. So I'm comfortable helping in that department, putting what input I can to try and make our First Nation a better place for everyone out here to live within. On the O&M part and lands and resources, I'm with community safety too. Community safety is really a big concern of mine because of our the situation we're in now with the young people. It seems like we got a little epidemic going on where the drugs are really accessible and they're cheap. And you all know what I'm talking about. It's the crystal meth and fentanyl and all that other stuff. And how do we stop that? It's going to be really a hard thing to stop because it's so accessible and so cheap to get. Like, people could live on it, and they kind of forget about eating and everything else, forget about family. It's not a great thing. So my big push on that part is I'd really like to see a First Nation police force out here within our first 4 nations. And I'm always talking to the other leaders from the other reserves. How could we start this? I'm starting to gain some traction. I'm starting to get some ears listening, some people from the other First Nations listening, and funding the First Nation police force is a big roadblock right now. But we think, talking to other leaders, I'm starting to feel comfortable that we found a way to fund a First Nation police force that covers our 4 First Nations here. That'll go a long way into community safety, a long way into controlling the drug problem. We have to look after that drug problem ourselves, because the local RCMP or the RCMP forces throughout the province, whether in the city or small towns, they don't have time for the small persons using the drugs. They're after the big guys, the big manufacturers, and those people come from Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg, Vancouver, and distributed out to smaller people, and it filters down. It's like a spider web till it gets down to our people. So the RCMP are really having a hard time getting them out here to tackle that problem on community safety. But we are doing what we can, and I won't quit. I won't quit until I could see the beginning of a police force out here. And working with Kevin and our peacekeepers, they're really for it. They want it too, but we got to start someplace, and we can't quit. We'll just keep pushing and driving until we get there. I touched on buildings and infrastructure there with our workers across the road from the band office. I visit them lots, and it seems like they always need a year to talk to from the leadership division, and I listen to them and I bring that back. I worked hard lots with Tony when she was here, and now I work lots with Melissa, bringing the ideas forward that they need to make the infrastructure better for our band members to live in, just a better life all around for all our band members. That's what I'm all about, is making life better for our band members. And my favorite is lands and resources. That's what I grew up doing. I grew up on the land. I grew up in agriculture. I have cattle of my own. We try farm ourselves, you know. And the big thing I'd like to talk about is 4C Farm and Ranch. That started in 2007. I got that going in 2007. The chief back then was the chief that left us, Lionel Sparvey. He backed it up quite a bit. He backed it up with everything he had. And Grady Leroy was the ex-dev officer. And we had quite a struggle getting it going. And all I asked for was 25 cows and a quarter of land to start building a herd for the band membership. And that's how 4C started. The 4C stand for Cowessess Community Cattle Company. And my goal, what I preached back then, was give me 25 cows and let's start a herd, and let me train band members how to manage cattle, and we'll build and grow the herd until we have enough. And my goal back then was 300 head. And then once we have 300 head, we had all these quarter sections of TLE land that we were pasturing. We were seeding to grass and pasturing and letting the white farmers come out and use that land that we were developing. So my goal was to build a herd to 300 head and start farming out little pods of cattle, like 5, 8, 10 head to band members that wanted to raise their own cattle. give them 10 head of cows and a quarter of land to pasture the cows or make hay on, and just loan them the cattle for 3 to 5 years. After 3 to 5 years, they'd give back 10 good cows, and the 10 cows would go to somebody else. That was my goal. That's where we started. And it's been a struggle keeping that herd. We had a big wreck a few years back. I came back and helped them. Then I came back in 2019. I was supposed to come home. I was supposed to retire, but I went back to 4C and helped them with the cattle again. And they're running 200 cows, and was kind of the herd wasn't a good cow, but good herd of cows. By the time we trimmed it down, we ended up with 102 cows, and we were getting really good calves and making money. Now we got the herd built up to 200 cows, and we were able to start buying some infrastructure with it. And out of that evolved a grain farm. The first year up there, we farmed 350 acres. The next year, we farmed 700 acres. And now we're at 5,400 acres. Next year, we'll farm 7,000 acres. And with that comes assets, you know. We're not full-fledged owner-operators yet, but we have been buying assets here and there. And this morning, I had a meeting to make sure I was talking about the right thing. And from what we looked at, we took a list of all our assets. Now, the 4C farms, between the cattle operation and the grain farm operation, we got $3.2 million in assets that are owned by Cowessess. That's all that we built by ourselves without taking anything away from Cowessess First Nation. We did get a break on the land rent. We were getting the land for $10 an acre versus the $50 an acre when we started. But that $40 or $30 or $40 that break we were getting, we were taking that money and buying these assets and the infrastructure that the farm and ranch need. When you go up the hill there and look to the west, you'll see our bin site. That's going to be our farmyard. And just there, we got up there, we have $1.2 million worth of assets now for the farm. And that's all found money or earned money to get us to where we're at. It's to me, it's a great thing, and it's gonna keep growing. That's the present now, and the future is. I'm really passionate about it, and I'd like to see us farm all the farmable land on our First Nation, our original First Nation. If I could talk these kind of assets from February of 1999 to now, if we could build up assets like that in 3 years, farming half the land that we could, a third of the land we could, what will we do when we farm all the land we could on our original reserve? What will we do when we farm 14,000 acres, you know, with good management? There's always a lot of questions about employment, but we try employ people, but it's really hard. It's hard to find people that want to get up at 4 in the morning, go to work, and work till dark, combining work till 2 in the morning. It's hard, so we try. Our turnover is fairly huge, but you know, eventually the workers will rise to the top, and their children, it's all about building families behind this. Their children will see the parents work, and the children will work behind that. It's not going to happen fast. It's going to take a generation or two to get to where I'm talking about. Maybe one of the hidden success of this is driving up the land rent. When 4C started, when they start farming, the land rent, our good land on top of the hill here to the south, was being rented for $40 an acre, $45, $50 an acre. Now 4C farm is up and running, and we're starting to take more land away from these white farmers that are getting it for half the price they should. And they're starting to see us as a threat. So I got pulled aside by one of the big farmers last fall, a year ago, and he asked me how much land we're going to take away from them. I said, we're not taking away any of your land. That's our land. We'll farm it as we see fit until you start paying what you should pay for it. Well, we had a good visit. He's still a friend, but 2-3 weeks later, he walked into the land's office, and he was paying $55 an acre. He walked into the land's office and offered $95 an acre. So with 4C just being a presence, we drove the land rent up by 40%, 50% in some cases. You look at that 50% over our 110,000 cultivated acres, we're talking a lot of money. We're talking huge amounts of money that 4C Farms is bringing to Cowessess First Nation, directly and indirectly. It's a serious thing. And we should be farming it. We should be owner operators. The real value in farming in our land is being owner operators for our First Nation. And it'll prove out year after year, and many benefits to it. Along with that, how do we get our people involved in agriculture? I'm big on agriculture in the classroom. I've been talking with Sandy Pinet here at CCEC for a number of years now. Well, since I come back home in 1999, driving bus, we became friends, and I was bugging her, asking her all the time, every time we talk, let's bring agriculture in the classroom. Let's introduce agriculture in the classroom, teach the kids from grade 1 to grade 12 that they have down here about agriculture. None of them are in agriculture university, none of them go to school of ag, because they know nothing about agriculture and they know nothing about the benefits of agriculture. And it's really a tough thing to bring into the classroom. My wife being a teacher, I know it, and right now the agriculture in the classroom is, in the springtime, you give the kids a paper cup and throw a bit of topsoil in it and throw a bean in there, and they watch the bean grow. That's agriculture in the classroom, you know. There's more to it. And I won't talk about anything unless I could back it up. So within the last 2 or 3 months, well, since last fall, I guess, I ran into Harold Grey Eyes, and he works with the Farm Credit Corporation. And always having good conversations with him. I told him about my dream to have a greenhouse down here at CCEC for the kids from grade 1 to grade 12 to go out into the greenhouse and have their own little section of the greenhouse to grow produce. The produce could turn around and be used for their lunch programs in school. But at the same time, they will also learn about agriculture. They'll also be they'll also be aware of agriculture, the benefits of agriculture, growing healthy food, being self-sustainable. That's what I'm about. For our land, if we could become self-sustainable, I think that's where we want to be. And I'll never stop pushing for that. Hopefully the greenhouse will turn into some market gardens down here. I would always like to work with the children, bring a horticulturist in, and get a market garden going. We got to start small. But I envision a market garden covering many, many acres here in the valley. We got the right setting. You go to Regina and travel a little bit west to Lumsden, where the market gardens are, and they have very little land base compared to what we have in the Capel Valley here. Like, we're sitting on piles and piles of land, yet could make us huge. They're bringing huge opportunities for our people, and bring wealth to our people. If we talk about 1907 claim, we talk about cows and plows, we talk about the other claim that's going to bring huge amounts of money to our First Nation. Our First Nation could be wealthy, very wealthy, money-wise. But it's not wealthy unless the people are wealthy. The people make the First Nation. And we got to find ways to enrich our people, to give our people better means of life. And you know what? We're land-based. We're in a part of the province that's land-based. So I'd like to focus on that land base to make you, the individual people, have a wealthier lifestyle, have a healthier lifestyle, have a more sustainable lifestyle. I'll always say, as long as the wealthiness of the people will make a wealthy nation, holistic, wealthy nation. That's what I'm talking about. I think I'm done. I didn't know. The chief wanted me to talk for 5 minutes, and I thought I was going to have to double space my words. You know? I still got 2 minutes, but I'm going to give them to Brandon. I'm done. I thank you all for listening to me. Thank you very much. Who's next? Brandon. You go.
I don't know if I should stand or sit here, but I'll stand up. So I think a lot of our topics here were asked when we first started about these, like our groups. Where do we want to go? Where do we feel comfortable? And obviously, Councillor Terry said lands, and he's very passionate about speaking about the lands, so he went well over his 5 minutes. it was a joke about our time. Malcolm always gives me the 2-minute warning. So I didn't really put extra bullet points on mine. I kind of kept it simple. I've been adding notes into my my book here. Our C92 stuff, I joined that team as well with Chief Erica, Councillor Allison, Councillor Curtis. It's the 4 of us, and it's not just restricted to the 4 of us for that. I think all of our council members can attend and give their input. Councillor Ira's a part of that as well through the Eagle Women Tribunal, so he's been attending a lot of these conferences as well. There's a lot of information to take in when it comes to our C92. It's to me, I think it's a really big deal. I'm trying to look at my notes and do. Sorry. So, yeah, I should. I'm gonna move to the back. Yeah, sorry. So, yeah, so our C92 is a big deal. I think it's a big deal. It's going to be huge for our children, our community program services. We've been attending a lot of conferences, I guess, to get caught up with all of our industry experts we team up with and work with. National level, the FSIN as well. FSN puts on a lot of conferences. They share a lot of information. They want to help a lot of our nations get this right for all of our children, not just for Cowessess First Nation. So yeah, I was kind of hoping that Chief was going to jump right into there when she was talking. She mentioned it, and then she just like, I'm going to let the other ones talk about that. So left it on me. No, it's okay. So yeah, we're in planning right now. We're going out to our community. We're looking for input. There's been some community engagement, post-secondary engagements, community engagements for just anything to help our children, like dream big, like what's going to really get out there and help our kids and our family. I guess start breaking those past traumas and cycles that we've been trapped in as First Nations people. So the prevention programs, prevention services, protection, give our children a safe place to have shelter. Post-majority, a lot of our children get cut off at the age of 18 from services, and that really puts them in a difficult spot. It puts their caregivers in a difficult spot if they're kind of relying on these funds to look after them. So those are kind of the things that we're going after the government for. We're in negotiations with ISC. There's a little bit of provincial talks as well. They're kind of trying to stay away from the whole C92 agreements. Yeah, so I find we have a really good working relationship with our Chief Red Bear Lodge now. Our staff gets a lot of input. Our staff has a voice, I guess, where they know they can share with us some of their ideas. Did I miss something? I think that's pretty much. Oh, yeah, okay. So I didn't want to say that, but so a few months back, we did do a dissolvement of the Board of Governors for the Red Bear. Like I said, we have a good relationship now. It wasn't that way from the beginning. We were getting a little bit of pushback from not all, but some of our board members, some of our senior executives in the Red Bear organization. So we did do a dissolvement. We are in term right now. That gives us a lot of freedom and access to have these talks with our staff, have these talks with our industry experts, have our talks with the ISC, our government relationships and partnerships that way. It wasn't an easy decision. We were kind of bounced around on this idea for a while, the pros and cons of doing it. And at the end of the day, we decided for the best interest of our children and our organization that we were going to move forward with that decision. I think as of now, It has turned out for the better of the organization short term. Long term, we still do plan to make that call out for the Board of Governors. But the reason it hasn't been done yet is we don't want to put them in a mess, I guess, if you can say it that way. We don't want to put a new Board of Governors in there and like help us just straighten out what's going on right now. We didn't want to do that for a new group of 9, right? A new group of 9 Board of Governors. We don't plan to be here long, but the sooner we can get out of here, the better. But short term, we are the acting Board of Governors for the Chief Red Bear.
Whatever the act is called, is it compliable and comparable to other grants, and does it cover everything that we're supposed to cover according to C-92? No? So we have to build that act again.
Amend it. We'll work, we'll build on the strengths of it and the parts where there's gaps. Oh, sorry. The question by one of our matriarchs in our community was, what is the state of our Meow-Pimitsawin Act, which oversees all of our child welfare, not just Chief Red Bear Children's Lodge, but also Eagle Women's Tribunal. And we know that because we were the first, we didn't have a lot of other places that we could go to see exactly what to learn from each other. And so now there's quite a few across the nation where we can learn and really learn from each other and build the best that we can. So our act is live, just for everybody to know. It's still live, and it's still to be followed. And we will be going out for amendments, and the Meow-Pimitsawin Act we will be creating a team of community members in order to look and to guide our legislation and policy team within that. And the Brandon was being a little bit shy, I think, on talking about who our experts are. They are leading experts herself. Dr. Cindy Blackstock is actually our lead researcher that assists us, and she's a shiro for our First Nations kids. Dr. Helena Gaspar, who heads up a research team for economics that will help us look to with our fiscal agreement as well as our coordination agreement. And like Councillor Brandon said, it was a very tough decision, but it was a decision that we stand by, and it's a decision that we feel that was in the best interest, and we now have an incredible working relationship with the interim CEO as well as the senior staff of Chief Red Bear Lodge. And it is just, Chief Red Bear Lodge is not C-92. C-92 covers what is beyond a child protection perspective. And it is our goal, and we will not stop, as Councillor Terry, we won't stop on any of these things, but we want to ensure, especially for our tribunal, is that we support our tribunal to have the best resources as well as to be funded the way that it should be, properly funded, and to have the best way to adjudicate and to be able to work with not only Chief Red Bear Lodge, but perhaps other areas, and to have enforcement policies within that. And to support right now the tribunal members, to completely support them in the work that they need to do.
And that concludes my time. No. No, yeah, we do recognize that we need to get into that act as well and make some changes. That's been identified.
I'm hoping that Cowessess is not going to join with YPC on developing our act. We have to do it ourselves.
Yeah. So the comment was that we rely on ourselves as Cowessess First Nation to do our own act. That is what we are doing. Not to say that we are not going to work with other organizations that have already developed and been working on their child and family protective services for a number of years. But at the end of the day, it's going to be Cowessess First Nations Act that's going to reflect our children and our needs, our services for the best interest of Cowessess First Nation. And it's not going to be, I guess, a copy and paste from another organization. So the other part, and this is where our team gets together. We have more, I guess, freedom and ability to talk with our directors and our staff. One of the other things I got partnered with Councillor Curtis as well has been on the what was called the Urban Indigenous Health Center. It's going on the 1200 block Ray and Athol streets in Regina. So when we came in, there was a plan in place to put a health center there. Since then, we kind of made some changes on that design, and it's still going through the works, I guess, to make that a viable business plan for Cowessess. It wasn't the most solid business plan for us at the time. The paper we seen, it didn't really add up numbers wise, so we had to make some changes in it. We did some redesigning on the building. There's still a potential that building might still go in a different direction, but still be for a purpose and use of our Cowessess First Nation. When we got into talks with that building, we're going into negotiations with ISC for some more funding. The other idea came up, and this was another in talks plan for the old school, the old gymnasium. There's still some good structure behind that building. There's been architects that went through there, engineers. They've did an assessment on that building. The shell of the building is still structurally sound. There might be some minor adjustments and repairs on there. So going back to our Red Bear staff, they need to get out of the mall. They shouldn't be in that mall as their head office. We've been having some talks with our infrastructure team, as well as everybody around our council table, that we are going to move forward and make a plan to get that old school renovated and make that the Mi'kmaq Center. So we'll get our Chief Red Bear staff in there, other programs and services into that building. Hopefully our daycare is going to go in there, a youth center, the gymnasium open to community. Where we're not kind of, I guess, restricted by rules of our school there, because the school is for our children, our education. To open it up after hours, it kind of poses risks for, I guess, other things going on in the school, vandalism, kids running around, whatever that looks like. So we're trying to identify that building and make a plan to open that up, so it's going to be a usable building again for our community, where we can run all kinds of programming out of there. Oh, I thought you were timing me there. And that again, like, that conversation came from meeting with our directors in multiple teams within our office, and there's a lot of input and there's a lot of excitement around that building. There's a lot of our directors that said they can contribute, and they're really looking forward to making that renovation happen. Which, when we do that, then we're going to free up the old daycare building. We're going to free up the bays in the mall, where they can be utilized for, especially in the mall, where they can be utilized for actual business ventures in there. What that looks like, it could be, I don't want to say restaurant again because it's been quite a while, but everybody knows about the restaurant that used to be in there, Legends Restaurant. But put that mall back into like an actual business venture where it's supposed to be bringing in money, and there's services there. And I'll just slightly touch on the renewable energy. We do have a couple of partnerships with renewable energy. Becavar, there were some of our community members that went to do a tour down there. They're on their way with their construction. They're putting up their turbines. There's 36 total in the end. There will be about half put up this season, half will be put up next season. 2. We just got verification. There's 2 up right now. So the blades are up on 2. They were just planning to put blades up when we did our tour, and it was too windy, so they didn't get the blades on. But it's quite the operation down there. They have big cranes, a lot of machinery. The job site's pretty spread out over a lot of different sections of land. 2 of those turbines do sit on Cowessess land. The other 34 are kind of spread out between other acres around the Kipling area. And then there's the Cowessess solar field, which that one is up. It was up and running for us, and it kind of gives us an idea of what we can look forward to if we plan to go down that same route of doing more solar fields, depending on the capacity of them. But it's a good measuring device for us right now to see like what kind of investment we can use for a solar, and I guess return on investment cost as well. And I'm gonna end my 5 minutes at that. I'm gonna take a guess. John Z's probably next. Curtis.
Thank you, Brandon. Councillor Terry for going first. Usually it's always hard to go first, but Councillor Terry's an old vet and he was able to handle it easily. Yeah, but I'm only gonna take about 50 seconds because they took all our time, so I'll just jump to the bullets and say what I'm doing, what I've been involved in. So some of the programs that I've been involved in, got to be a part of, is our urban services as your non-resident counselor. I don't take credit for any of these services at all. We have great staff at the urban office and great direction from our director up there, Jody Delorme. We do have urban members out here today, so I welcome you guys down. Appreciate you guys attending, and I appreciate everybody else for attending. I also like to thank Carol for the prayer. She's always there to give us and start us off in the right track, and I really appreciate that. And that's one thing that we've always start our meetings with. It's one thing that we always practice is that good kinship between ourselves and our traditions, and we smudge, we give tobacco to each member of our table to say prayer. It's not just one of us doing it once we're in our office. It's all of us take our turns. But yeah, I'm not as long-winded as our other speakers. So some of the stuff is did mean that I talked about the C92. Chief and Councillor Brandon did speak a lot about it, but I do know that with the task team that we get to sit on, it's very, very humbling, because we know what this is for. This is for our children. This is for their future. This is for the unborn that will be going into systems like that. For us to be able to have them to come home and take care, and for us to take care of them. So Chief did mention we have good partnerships. These aren't people that are running it for us. They're just giving us the light bulbs to help us set these policies and procedures in motion, so we could have a very strong Mio Pamatsuan Act for our own community, where the world will look at it and say, we want to be like Cowessess, and that's the way that we want to go in the future, is having everybody look at us and being the trendsetters for every nation across Turtle Island. So that's all I'm going to talk about C92. Some of the Cowessess ventures is myself and Chief Bowden get to sit on the board for CVL, which is Cowessess Ventures Limited. It's still a learning process. Didn't have the direction of a CEO, so we've actually just hired on a young gentleman that's very, very smart. He comes from Gordon's First Nations. His name is Jacob Sinclair. He's really taken the bull by the horns. He's really like fine-tooth combing everything, and I think he's the young man that will lead us into the next new and upcoming stuff that Cowessess could go forward, especially with all that wealth that we'll be generating in the next few next few years with our 1907 and whatever we invest in, it all comes back to Cowessess First Nations, not just myself, my children, for everybody, but for generations to come. The biggest thing I'll talk about is the urban services, and Jody kind of helped me out with giving me some. I think I have 10 pages here that I could read off of. But 10 lines, I'm just kidding. But that's how it is. We have fun. I don't know if they understand my cheekiness yet, but I do have this look that they I could make any room go smile around, because when everybody's looking serious, I come in there with my little cheeky grin, and they're like, "Quit looking at me like that." But it makes them smile. So so urban services. Some of the stuff that they have and has been a continuous wheel with urban services is the membership assistance, which is medical that's not covered by non-insured. So helping with like deaths, some for travel, where it's from $100 to $250. Youth assistance program, so that's school fees and supplies. Mobility assets program, which is medication, glasses that is also not covered by non-insured. So the urban office has all those processes to help our urban members, not just only in Regina but across Canada. There's a driver program that they help out with too. They do the 6-hour in classes, 6-hour in cars, which is all part of policies that are under the urban office. I'm just gonna lift it up. So, and then also they have extended care. That's all part of the mobility asset program, which is the extended care that helps with lifestyles like equipment, hospital beds, walkers, and canes and all that kind of stuff to help our seniors with any kind of mobility. I think it's also for the ones that just have that hard accessibility to get around or be able to go to places. Home ownership program, so that's the first time home ownership, which is a process that the urban office helps people to get a portion of their down payment for their home ownership, which is $5,000. They also have a home renovations for seniors up to help them keep their homes up to standards, whether it's helping them to access the mobility inside their house, whether they need decks, showers, those walk-in showers and all that kind of stuff, and that's up to $5,000 also. There's a comfort allowance that helps people out with $75 for toiletries and just personal needs that are needed. They also have medical transportation, which takes memberships to appointments. That's part of our policies also. And then also all the programs that they do, they have the summer youth day camps. They give out exhibition passes. And then we have the summer barbecues that I think the majority of us counselors this term actually got to attend, and we wanted to make sure that they were there and could meet their new council, and we got to visit quite a bit. It was really a great turnout. Our Regina turnout was huge. I think we ran out of hot dogs and hamburgers, so we had to send for more. But it was good. But I think Councillor John took all the hot dogs. That's why we ran out. There's adult programming, which the members in Regina get to do some go on outings and do craft nights and all that stuff. Jeannie is part of that program, and then Brighton Leroy does the youth programs. There's also a volleyball program that's happens in Regina with the kids at the Mama Wheaton Center, the old Albert Scott School. Right? That's what it is, yeah. And they do that Saturdays and Sundays. Urban Office also has a Come Eat program once a month, which they serve the members. They give them a meal. They're also very involved in Pride Week, meaning that there's what was that parade that we attended. It was a very long parade. My feet are still recuperating from that. It was it was a long walk. And then they also sit there at the Queen City Marathon and hand out water to the runners. And then what am I missing? Huh? I'm done? I'm good? And then but last I'll say is that the Christmas dinners are starting. We'll be starting the Christmas dinners right away. And that's a big task that the urban office really does, and I appreciate Jody for all the hard work that she puts into it, and our members that attend. I really appreciate all of them that attend, and I'm glad. I'll be happy that I get to meet everybody once we attend all these Christmas dinners, and yeah, I think was that about 5 minutes, or do I have a couple more minutes? Okay, I'm good. Told you I'd be short and sweet. We'll pass it on.
Okay, we're going to do one more and then have a smoke break, and Reggie's we're getting some cakes in here, and then we'll finish with the last four and then go quickly into the audit. So the next person,
Malcolm.
we get to finish, go right before break. I think Councilor Malcolm gets the best news to give to people.
Evening. I was going to get up and just call a smoke break. But if we could wait that long, I won't be long, you know. These guys all stand up here and say everything. What the hell do you say after? But anyway, I like to thank Carol for the prayer, and KFC for the chicken, you know, and whoever picked it up, you know. And it's great to see you all here taking interest in what's happening and who's who, and you know, meeting the new council, all young council. You know, I think the only two are me and Terry, and Johnny are the last group. Right. But anyway, you know, it's great to see you here, and I do a lot of work through just being a grassroots guy. You know, you always see me out here. I'm always here for the band membership. On reserve, you know, I have nothing against the urban members. By the way, hi out there, everybody. You know, I don't know, they had 70 on their last, so 75. Well, yeah. Well, good day to you all for taking time out to tune in on what's going on Cowessess here. I guess one of the things that I would like to say is I'm on the education board or committee or whatever you want to call us. And that's something new for me. We still haven't really called any meetings to meet. I think Johnny Z's with me on there, and Curtis, you know, and we have to try get together with Sandy and Beagle. Oh, sorry, I mean Barry. Sorry. But things are going pretty smooth, you know. You get a new team, and there's always new ideas. You know, we're always in there to agree and disagree, which makes the meeting pretty good. You know, we all get up after the meeting and, you know, shake hands and hug each other and, you know, laugh. You know, once the meeting is over, our differences stay in the room there, you know, which sometimes it's pretty hard to do, but we got to do it to be there for the membership. You know, one of the things that I like to do right now is just turn on the bingo board and turn it on for the seniors bingo right now. But with saying that, there is a seniors bingo tomorrow evening, you know, so come out and support them if you can. Another thing that we're starting again is the pipe at the end of the month, last Friday of the month, right, Josh? Yeah. So, you know, it makes you feel real good when you come out and sit there and pray, you know, and you kind of see the people that gone ahead of you when you're in the circle here. So I invite you out to that last Friday of every month. The golf course, I hang around there quite a bit. I eat there every day, pretty well. But they're shutting down for the winter, you know, and they blew out all the lines yesterday, from what I hear. And the course, the course never really makes no money, but it's there for us as band members and for the community outside, you know. Hopefully we could improve it a little more for next year. You know, we talk about redoing the sand traps and stuff, because Brandon's always in them and it's hitting stones there. So we talk about that. But yeah, you know, it's different as an old counselor, I guess I could say. You know, I've been in there a long time. I've been there through bad, good, you know, bad, good. And I think with the last 6 months here, we're going to be getting someplace. You know, I'm always heavy on, well, let's do something on Cowessess. We got to see something on Cowessess now. We got to build something on Cowessess, and I'm always pushing that. You know, I have nothing against urban centers. You know, all my family are all urban members. So, but it's Cowessess. We got to start the home reserve. And somebody talked about the daycare, the that center with Red Bear. We're getting together with them, so we have to start meeting with that. So we're gonna see something, or I'm gonna see something done on this nation within the next 3 years, because I've been in there a long time, and all I see is 2 sheds up the hill. Not even real ones, covered with rags. But yeah, and then to sit there and meet with Barry too, to see where we're going with that. You know, he's doing a program right now, a mining program, you know, and that makes me feel real good. You know, one of my daughters are there, my granddaughter is in there, you know, so we gotta sit down and meet with them to see where we're going next. You talk about 1A training and license, and that's what's hurting a lot of people right now, our members, because they don't have a driver's license, you know, and you need a driver's license to have a good job. But with that, I'm a smoker, you know, and if you have any questions, you know, my name is under education, you know, but never be afraid to approach me. I'm always around, you know. I've grew up doing houses, you know. I'm not a roads guy, but I'll listen to you all the time, and I'll bring it back to the people that have to do something about it, you know. With that, hi, and have a good evening. Huh? Oh yeah, right. I just about forgot the most important thing. We're not gonna get any half turkeys this Christmas. We're gonna get a whole turkey, and. And you know, you talk about the population, we got 4,500 band members, give or take a couple, and we've been given $100 checks for Christmas, so we're gonna top it way up to 150. You know, I just about forgot about that. Thanks, Chief, for reminding me. So with that, you know, for the ones that come from Regina, have a safe trip, you know. And we always have to mention to everyone else, we love you all, and be careful out there, you know, and we'll see you soon again. Hi.
Thank you, everyone. We have 4 left, and they're actually the fastest speakers, and then the audit. So we'll just take, if possible, I'm saying 5 minutes, but it'll probably be a 10-minute break to get us all home as quick as possible. Thank you. Okay, we are just going to start back now. And just a little bit of excitement. Well, it's not that much of excitement, but it'll get us home earlier. We've been notified that the flood claim audit that was going to be done, we're not quite sure where our auditor is, so we're hoping send up a prayer for her because it's very unlike her to not call. But she's not here yet, and she was expected to be here at 8 o'clock. So if she doesn't show up by the time we're done our last 4, then we'll just call it a night. Now, saying that, we do have legal obligations with that audit, so we will have to call a meeting as soon as we talk with our auditors in order to make sure that we comply with our legal obligations. Oh, and also we do have some cake, and we're going to be serving to you right at your table. So we have some people that will be serving as we continue on. Okay, next we have Councillor Jean Allison Whiteman to give her report.
Thank you, Chief Bowden. I'd like to acknowledge, thank Carol for the wonderful prayer. And I'd like to acknowledge our young youth in the room, and as well as everybody for spending time tonight, taking your time out of your life and all of your responsibilities to come and be here with us. I was stressing out Melissa today because I was like, well, what do I put on my sheet, right? And because, Chief outlined the areas of responsibility, and it was really challenging for me to just put 3 bullets up there. So today I was sitting in the office and I started watching the headmen, and I started getting chilled up because they all had big notes, comprehensive notes, like, especially John Z here, hold on, I'm gonna try and leave him lots of time. But, so I really appreciate all their words, because on my 3rd area where I wrote coordination agreement, a lot of that, what I was going to cover, was covered. And when Carol asked that question in regards to our own laws and acts, I made some notes here as I was sitting. My apologies. Because I knew it would be kind of like organic how we had to speak, and that's really how it's been really, really good to sit at this table and, appreciate the good life as we evolve our public policy to match what our community needs and grows. So I'll just state on that part, as soon as we came in, we were tasked to put on our policy review hat and ensure that our due diligence was being done to our memberships as rights holders and our treaty obligation with the Crown. So it was great direction that Chief developed the Inherent Rights of the Child Task Force, and she outlined what I was going to review about our expert panel that we've been able to bring in to continue evaluations for the policy and the governance behind our acts. As the Mio Pamatsuan Act, every 5 years, we're coming up to the 5 years of it being a living act. So we understand with the evaluations and within our evaluations, and we're trying to do our best to ensure that the amendment process will meet the needs as we've evaluated how long it's been an act so far, because in the evolution of public policy, things can only get better for us. So I really thank Carol for that question, because answered a lot of the things I wanted to kind of stutter through. So, kind of shaky, ole. Guys seen me all my life and I'm still kind of shaky. So we're ensuring, we're doing our best to ensure the due diligence as we go to negotiate with the federal government for our future fiscal arrangements within the coordination agreement. It's been, as Chief said and outlined her meetings and schedules, and a lot of us meet side on a side, and a lot to ensure that we're properly educated to be a strong governance body for the nation. Each and every one of us, I can tell you that speak the truth from my heart, that's in our accordance to our oath to the nation that we stated here on April 24th. And with all that in mind, keep in mind that as we prepare for the development of our specific claim trusts and how that will look for the nation within our acts that are already in place. So that's all I'll say for the coordination agreement, because there's lots to say. Right off the hop, I was appointed to TLE as the council representative for treaty land entitlement. So I'd like to acknowledge all our past TLE trustees in the room and all our past leadership in the room, because Cowessess First Nation is really strong in our treaty land entitlement and our quest to, and our inherent responsibilities to ensure that we can get our land back. And, you know, listening to our members and kind of hearing that that is one of our most top priorities so that we can reach the quantum acres that were outlined in our TDLE settlement agreement. I'd like to acknowledge Barry, because he spent, 27 years as a trustee? 55 years as a trustee. No, I'm just kidding. So Barry passed the torch to me, and it's big shoes to fill, but we've been going really full tilt. I can tell you that I wrote this down too, but I have to go back here. The original agreement, I was ready. In 1996, TLE was signed for replace 189,367 acres that were lost. So the remaining, or the total acres so far, as of my ATR file that I was briefed on, 76,143 acres have been purchased, and there's 46 addition to reserve files still in the file manager that's being negotiated to turn to reserve on behalf of Cowessess. So that leaves just over 15,000 acres of land still in fee simple, which is really commendable to our lands department for managing all those acres of land on our behalf. So I come up here as a humble servant to you and acknowledge all the past work of our leaders and acknowledge all our past trustees and the work that went in to make sure that our TLE has been successful. 2 files right now as our file manager diminishes. One of the things that we've been really working on is you've noticed at Al Steakhouse it was cleared up the lot, so now the next step on that is to negotiate the service agreements with the town of Broadview. And because it's never happened before, so it'll be like new negotiating with their leadership. It'll be a first for the nation and Broadview. That's about it for that, hey? So it was a learning curve on, you know, all the moving parts on not only the Al Stakeout property, but ensuring that we work together to ensure the work that was done on the 1200 block, Albert Street in Regina, you know, all the moving parts of that are you know, we're all going to have the same timeline to see that project. And that's been a challenge as the moving parts, you know, we really evaluated that project. We really did our due diligence to ensure that project will come to fruition for the nation. I can say that a lot of these, your headmen, our counselors have ensured and discussed and debated the project to ensure that project will be a go. And as it stands right now, the land has just our environmental on the land at 1200 block Albert has we finally received a clean environment on that, and it'll go to the next step with the Department of the DOJ to go to peer review for ATR process. So we're hoping that'll all line up so that all the moving parts, the contribution agreements and funding arrangements and our timelines with our architects, and so we can see that project come to fruition. And hand in hand with the, it really all does go together in the circles like you saw before, because that's how we're able to back one another up and find out there's no problem to always talk to one another, and just to make sure in case we have second guessing, right? Like, I can't say enough about the teamwork at the table that I'm so grateful for, and that's even like Councillor Uncle Malcolm said about our team dynamics, that's actually really how it is, and we're not afraid to tell each other things and see what we mean, and we know that, and Cowessess way, that's at the end of the day, we still have respect for one another and that love. I was going to say, I was waiting for him to say, and love you all, because I was like, I wanted to say that too, but at the end, but so it's really good to have strong mentors at the table. I'd like to thank the chief for bringing together some of the task force, and really being able to pick apart things that we need to do for due diligence to the fiscal arrangements coming up that we have to negotiate for the nation's benefit. So ensure that funding will be in place for the next 10 years and beyond, and that we're doing our due diligence not only to us now, but for the future, so that our treaty and inherent rights are secured. Okay, so we go into the four trusts, because it comes hand in hand when you get to chair. So I really commend the development of and the evolution of our trust, because once quantum was reached, it opened up some certain other aspects of creation, and past table of trustees were able to develop an investment policy, and we're now catching up to our we're catching up to all what that means to be able to I wrote this down. To be able to do our diligence to allocate for the four trust community files coming up. Our next meeting's on November the 3rd if you have a application sitting at the trustee table. We've in the past couple months, we've called for a full financial review, and we now have in place our audit and our trust investment policy presentation on the docket to be presented to the table. And then before the end of this year, the fiscal year at TLE ends at the end of December, and we should have those presentations to membership before then. So we'll have those dates out shortly. So I think that's good, eh, Chief? Anything else I miss? John has like 3-4 pages here, so I better sit down. And again, thank you so much. I just really appreciate the patience from the nation as we work to develop better strategy to have a better streamlined communication strat to, fulfill all what we need to do and ensure that our diligence to all our files and all the moving parts are continued. I can't speak highly enough about our staff the staff for the nation that, pulls together you could see the last couple of weeks. I think Councillor Brandon was reviewing me that there was something happening on the nation every day. So that's really good to see. So I really appreciate all that, everybody who puts in their time and effort, because time is really one of the most valuable things we all have. We don't know. So I really, again, stress that. Thank you for taking your time out to spend with us tonight. And I humbly, thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
Good evening. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank Carol for the prayer. I want to thank our knowledge keepers for coming out. I want to thank Carol for her knowledge and for what she did for the last years for the Christmas and doing the Christmas for our kids and helping making sure our kids get a proper Christmas gifts. Okay, the Buffalo Project. I'm on lands with Councillor Terry and Councillor Alley. What I'm doing is what we are conveying is bringing in the buffalo with the Buffalo Project. We're having the buffalo coming in December. We have 25 buffalo from Fort Peck Community College that are coming here. We are part of the Buffalo Treaty when we signed at the powwow there with the other nations across Canada and across the United States. With that, we're bringing in the buffalo because it's more of a sovereign and cultural land-based teachings for our kids and for our community. With that, mental health. I'm in health and well-being. With that, I'm with Councillor Brandon and Councillor Ali with health and well-being, and what we were wanting to convey more is more mental health programs and more cultural language, what the chief was talking about earlier with the language literacy and the language, what do you call that, employment to become part of our identity and our history. And with that, I am part of IRS too with Councillor Curtis, and we have our employees, Bill Denemy, Kayla Rod, our lead researchers, Barbara LaValle, Nadine Obi, Dodie LaValle, and our maintenance worker, Chad Pelche. What we have the IRS doing is we're working on bringing in the names to the desks, but making sure that we have collecting testimonies and history on actually on identity and kinship. And we hired actually Dino LaRoff to help us with that, with trying to find our identity and trying to find our kinship and within our societies and who we are and where we come from. And so he's going to be doing that with us. He's coming with us with the Christmas parties and actually been doing that for the last year and a half with his genealogy. So I really acknowledge Dino for really doing that for us and helping our people understand who we are and where we come from. And I think that's up for me. Thank you very much. Nice and sweet. Have a good day.
My next. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I want to thank the urban seniors that made their way out here as well to share some food and some information with us. And especially I want to thank Carol for blessing the meeting as well as the food. I have two counselors that share, I guess, the file with me. I want to start with housing. I spoke with the housing staff just to see if they had any concerns or issues that they wanted the members to know. And there are a few actually. But for us, it's policy review. Once we get started here with our committees, we want to do our policy review for housing. I think it's been a few years since it's been done, and it's time to do it again. Terms of reference for our committee members is another thing that we want to get finalized here in short order. But as far as the work that the housing department does, we have a staff of 3 that look after 200 some homes on our First Nation. Connie Cowessess is our director in that department, and Shannon Lara is our tenant relations specialist. We also have one maintenance guy, that was Rodney Delorme, and he does his best to try and keep up with all the repairs and requests that the members put before us. Going forward here, the housing allocations, we haven't had any in a while, but we have 5 new units that are constructed, and we hope to have them move-in ready within the next 3 months. 3 are in the upper subdivision, and 2 are in the lower subdivision here. They're bigger units, so with basements and that, they're not crawl spaces, so they're ideally suited for a bigger family. We hope, the staff hopes to develop and create a more efficient and accurate process for rent and maintenance fees that should be paid, because those monies help us in our repairs and provide the services that we need, such as water and garbage pickup and things like that. So we want to try and focus on that going forward and bring some more monies in so we can enhance those services. Another thing that the housing department asked me to put forward was when members have a request for repair to their unit, to ensure that it goes to the appropriate people, and that's the housing department. If they go to counselors or they go to the directors, it sometimes doesn't get to the housing department, and that's why some of the repairs requests are overlooked. So they wanted me to make sure that the members knew that the right process is to put those before the housing department. Other than that, I have just a couple of wishes that I have with them, and I want to share them as well. One of them is in the new year to have a housing meeting to get some input from our community members in the development of our policy, and get it ratified by Chief and Council. So that's one of them. And another one is more units. So our elders from the urban centers, we understand that there's some challenges out there to live in the urban centers now for our elders that live on limited incomes. Rents keep going up, groceries are going up, and they sometimes don't have an option. So what we would like to do is allocate, maybe one unit or 1 or 2 units of our new housing stocks to elders that want to move home. So that's a discussion that we'll have when we have these meetings with our members. The starting of the committees is important because the committees, that is the community's voice. We get direction from our committees, and that's how we provide the services and we try to enhance our services by the community's voice and the community's wants. I think that's it for the housing. I share that with Councillor Brandon and Councillor Terry. And the next one, the facilities and infrastructure, I also share that file with Councillor Brandon and Councillor Terry. It's the infrastructure department in the past 4 years has spent $4 million, well, not our dollars, I guess ISC dollars, on a roads project, and we did get most of our main grids on the First Nation redone. And in that process, we also purchased a gravel screener, so we can continuously put gravel on at our own will, and we don't have to rely on ISC dollars or our neighboring First Nation to provide us with gravel. We can produce that product ourselves now. Another project that Facilities and Infrastructure has been working on is the environmental cleanup. That is another $2 million project that ISC has funded, and I guess some of the major areas that we cleaned up was the old co-op store just here that's been there for decades. It was an environmental concern. It had asbestos, it had hydrocarbons in the ground that needed to be cleaned up, and that all got done now. So we're kind of wrapping that up now. But in that project, there is also the decommissioning of our landfill. And that is a project that's going to be done in the spring. And once we decommission that landfill, and I'm excited about getting it done because there's always burning that goes on there, and that's a serious contaminant to the water, the lands, and the air. So we want to get that limited and stopped altogether by moving our garbage from the community to a new transfer station, solid waste transfer station. So that's in development stage, and that will be in the spring. That will get kicked off. And the location of that is about 2 minutes south of the reserve on the way to Broadview in a field. And the reason for that is we didn't want the transfer station within our own community. We couldn't find a suitable location, so we just selected one off reserve. It's not cumbersome to go out there. It's only, like I said, 2-minute drive to get there. And that's where all our solid waste from our garbage, from our homes will go going forward, starting next year. Solid waste transfer station, once that's completed, we'll see the benefits of that. I just wanted to kick off, piggyback, I guess, on some of the things that they said, the councillors, in regards to the new daycare Head Start building. I'm not in favor of putting our children, our Head Start children, in the old school. I mean, I went to school there. I think our children deserve something better than that. So we're hoping to have an additional wing built onto that old school, and that's where our daycare and our Head Start will go. And there has been a PMT group, I guess, project management team group, selected and put together. So those plans will be coming in short order here. Another one I wanted to speak on was the low pressure. In 2010, that project was started. It was at the engineering design stage until we hit a roadblock. We needed to come up with $1.3 million. At that time, Cowessess never had those dollars. So it kind of sat in abeyance for a while. We tried to bring it back in 2012. It started out as a $3.3 million project in 2010. It rose to $5.5 million 2 years later, and we got new numbers now to what it's going to cost us now, and it's up to $9.2 million. So I think the longer we wait to get that done, the more expensive it's going to get. So we hope to revive that as a council and find the dollars to pipe some potable good water to all of our homes on the First Nation. The other project that is kind of near and dear and a benefit to the community is our water treatment plants in the valley and up top have received new generators. So in the past, we've always dealt with boil water advisories every time there was a prolonged power outage, just because you lose pressure in the lines and then they put you on a boil water advisory. So the new generators will eliminate that. So there should be no disruption to the water services in the upper sub and the lower one. The upper sub, actually theirs is operational now. The one in the lower sub here, that's coming in the next, before spring, we'll have that one in operation as well. So we won't experience any boil water advisories due to power outages after that. That's the facility infrastructure. The other file that I share with Councillor Curtis and Councillor Terry is the community safety. They already spoke on most of it already, so I just wanted to add a little bit to it, just to let you know that we support our peacekeepers and the work that they do on Cowessess. We're very thankful to have the peacekeepers in our community, and it's a well-funded project, I guess, that we hope to have going forward and enhance that as well. The bylaws for animal control and other bylaws that we want to develop, we have an animal control bylaw in place now, but that also needs to be redone and revisited again. So I think the communities that are the community members that are expecting updates to these bylaws, they're coming. They're on the radar. And finally, another area that I'm responsible for is the Eagle Woman Tribunal. That is the judicial arm of the Chief Red Bear Children's Lodge. So I am the chair on that, and we have some very good tribunal members from the community here that sit on that as well. And we are also in the developmental stage, I guess, and we will be reviewing all of our policies and bylaws in that as well. They're already done, but if we take the act out and we make changes to that act, that affects our policies and bylaws. So we'll have to redo ours as well. So and that's good. It's always good practice, and it's a work in progress for those. And I think everybody or most people know who I am, and I haven't changed my phone number in about 10 or 12 years. So I'm very reachable, and I'm available for any questions that anybody has. And thanks for listening tonight. I have a little bit of information on that, and I was here when we came in this building here, and we signed the papers, and we were supposed to get $1,350 each individually, and the First Nation would get a chunk of money for signing on to that claim. We still haven't seen any dollars for the individuals, but the $500,000 that was promised to the First Nation, I believe it's in our finance department now. But that is not for the individual payouts. Those are still coming. And I asked for a date on that, and they said it's kind of like the residential school. They don't know. They couldn't give me a date. Yes. Yeah. The housing department, if it's in relations to repairs and that, they want the members to phone Shannon Leroy. Yep, Shannon Leroy. And the maintenance guy is Rodney Delorme, and she can provide his phone number and get any services that you might need, or get your whatever you need looked at or repaired. Okay. Yeah, I think we can help with that. We do have a pole saw at the. Yeah, those two. Yeah, no, we have a pole saw at the water treatment plant that can reach those heights. So we just cut the branch down. I think they're all asleep now. The bees or the wasps. So we would just cut the branch down and be done. Yeah. Thanks for letting us know, and I'll let the staff at the water treatment plant know where it is, and they'll come have a look at it. All right. Okay. Myra, you have a question? Yes.
You know how much problems I have with my water? Ira, I'm always calling you.
So the question was, who's in charge of cleaning cisterns?
The water treatment plant is in charge of cleaning the cisterns. We don't have the capability to do it. It's a little bit specialized equipment, so we hire that service out. It's $1,300 to get your cistern cleaned. Normally what would happen is you'll put a complaint into the water treatment plant or a concern. They'll come out, they'll sample the water, and if it's deemed that there's anything in the water or it's not pure enough, then they would put a call into Matt, Mach 1 Septic Services, and he would pencil us in to get that cistern cleaned. Yeah, yeah. No, like I said, we didn't have the ability to clean it now, but now we have a contractor that can take care of that.
Oh, okay. And what about, like last year I had so much problems and they were going to dig out the line to the sewer because it kept on kinking and I'd have backup?
The sewer line?
Yeah, the sewer line up to where the jets are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing that I don't have the ability to do that yet, but we would call a plumber in to do that and snake the line.
Yeah, because they're supposed to, they come and change my pump, the pump out in the basement, and it still goes like that in the winter time.
Yeah.
Because if there's a kink in the line and it freezes up.
Okay. Yep. Like the housing staff said, can you please put those into housing, and they'll document it, generate a work order, and they'll pass it on to the water treatment plant staff.
About the last 4 years.
Yeah. Okay, your issue is noted. Yes. The question is there money with elder ramps? We have built a few elder ramps. I think the health department is assisting where there's ramps required. Their preference is to put a wheelchair lift in. It's more cost efficient to do that way. But if you're very adamant on getting a ramp, I think the housing staff can accommodate that. They'll look for some dollars through health or another department to help pay. And we are buying ramps. Yes, we are buying the services of a contractor to build ramps. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks to Carol for the prayer and the staff for bringing the food out. Thanks to the members that are here today, the urban seniors out, and the 70 plus that are on Zoom right now. My areas of responsibility are education and livelihood. I sit on livelihood with Councillors Curtis and Brandon. This includes CVL, ECDEV,
4C Farms, Income Assistance, Last Oak, Little Child Community Development, and externally it includes industry partners and specific government relations. With education, I sit on that with Councillor Malcolm and Councillor Curtis. This includes the Prep Center, Cultural Land-Based Learning and Healing and Urban Services. Externally, it would include Treaty 4 education and universities that have our members attending. Projects or task forces include education, governance, and treaty knowledge enhancement. And with the structure of these 6 areas of responsibility, it's good the way it is. There's 3 of us on each one, and there's overlap on them, so we're all involved in all of our areas. In addition to that, I sit on the Little Child Community Development Board. Currently, we're accepting new members. The expired board members are still there until we fill those seats. We'll be starting up on Chase the Ace again by the end of this year. We have used about 75% of those funds that we got from the last Chase the Ace, so it's getting down there. We got to start making more money for that in order to fulfill these individual and community applications that come in. And currently looking at ways to increase participation at the bingos. First Nations drinking water settlement, or that dirty water money Carol mentioned, Ira kind of spoke on it already. We received the $500,000 last term, and we've been talking about how to use that money. I think we're going to use it with go towards our low pressure system, towards water-related issues, training water techs and educating the membership on water-related issues. Individual claims are being processed. There's about over 600 applications right now that are in there that we sent in on the ban confirmation list. There's a minimum of about $1,300 per application that each member will get once those are paid out. The timeline on that might not be till the end of 2024. They did extend the deadline from 2023 to 2024 because of some of the issues where the initial applications had mistakes like date of birth, proper names, contact info. But with our band confirmation list that we sent in, it was about 80% of it was correct. Painted Hand Casino, our Painted Hand Community Development Corporation, I'm the chair, I sit on there as a board member. I'm new to it. The first allocation meeting's coming up in the beginning of November. We do have a huge surplus this year for Cowessess due to an underpayment from the province. And once I receive these applications that Cowessess members did put in for the CDC, I'll meet with the chief and council and go over them with the team prior to the meeting with the CDC board. And youth council, I don't have it up there, but currently accepted new youth members. Some of them have left due to getting into university or moving away. Our chairperson there is Bailey LaValle. She does a really good job at it. They assist with community events. They get invited to events to speak, and they work with the school and Chief Red Bear Children's Lodge on various events and policy creation. And that's it. Thank you.
So as you see, we have an incredible working council that they do amazing work. There was just, they sent me little messages after I forgot to say this, they don't want to talk again. So just for membership to know, the stores, we've gotten several comments and we've heard about the concerns about the stores. And so we have our on-reserve ECDEV person that's working on it in conjunction with the new CEO of CVL for the Regina store. So you have been heard about the concerns about the stores, and we are definitely working on the issues that have come forward to us. As well as another aspect that we didn't really mention, but that we're very committed to, are training and employment opportunities for Cowessess members, both on and off reserve, and training up and to look as when we talk about those dreams, and we know that those dreams are going to become reality with especially the 1907. With all of this planning we're doing, we're working with labor force development as well as social assistance as well as our ECDEV partners in order to ensure that we have Cowessess people that will be working at those on all those ventures that we have. So there is that. As well as right now we have an off-reserve TLE position posted. So for those that are off-reserve, please please consider joining the team, the TLE team, and putting your application in. And also Councillor Curtis has been working very hard, and this is in this aspect. Well, he works in all aspects very hard, but we're very excited to announce that we are just in the final stages of looking at 90 daycare spaces in Regina for our urban members that work and also need assistance with daycare. And that is going to be worked on as a cooperative with three other not-for-profits in Regina, which means that we will have our post-secondary as well as our workers and our COCMs and Mushrooms that look after grandchildren, because there's also going to be respite services that we're looking at where our caregivers are able to go and there'll be time for them to go and do their business and drop off the kids there as well. So we're really working hard on that as well. The other thing is we're so excited, and we've worked really, really hard, not only as a team but with staff and our partners, that we can say very confidently, both on and off reserve, there will be shovels in the ground as soon as the thaw in the spring. And we are looking forward to having those community buildings up and starting to go as soon as we can in the spring. And those will be Mi'opamatsuan Centers of Excellence. And those will be dedicated to our children and our families and the wellness and that Mi'opamatsuan that was given. So those were the messages that I was given, text messages as we went by. And I think that right now we're at the stage of that's really what's next. We just continue on with the work that we're doing. Being committed to you as membership, being committed to listening, being committed to getting those committees up and running with the correct terms of reference so that the committees feel very supported, and we have that process in place where we will be required to listen to the committees and the direction and the recommendations that were given, because it's time to have the community and our nation's voice back to directing our nation. And then, so also, tonight is not the last part. We are going to be having virtual as well as in-person community discussions, and we're going to be calling it Nation Talk. So we're in Thursdays in November from 6 to 8 p.m. We will be having Zoom as well as in-person in order to address any questions and to talk more specifically about different areas and different projects. So that's something new that we're trying, that we're very proud to show you today. And I guess we are now, if anybody has any other questions or comments that you would like to make, both on or online or here tonight, please feel free to ask them now. Oh, okay.
My girl Gina, you were supposed to ask that, Brandon. He has it? Okay. My girls, my granddaughters in Lloydminster are university students, and they get a very minimum student allowance. Is there a chance in the near future that you up that student allowance for our kids that are going to university? We've been at $1,000 for about 20 years.
When we were talking about what we're looking at in terms of policies, It's not only the post-secondary students, but it's also the funeral allowance that's there as well. And so we are really trying hard to get our heads around the finance department and the audits, as well as to find out with the own source revenue. And once we receive that, we will be able to very much contemplate raising the post-secondary funding, as well as the funeral costs.
I believe that the Indian Affairs pays $23.50 for a funeral, and a funeral now costs about $6,000 or $7,000. My girl is in the funeral business, and I hate to say this, but there's a lot of people from Cowessess that did not pay their bills, and I don't believe they can. Some of them can afford it. So I think we really have to up that funeral assistance, and a lot of the people upgrade those their caskets for those, those ugly gray ones that they put us in. Yeah, those are just paper ones, and I think we should help our members buy better caskets and better funeral services. But a lot of people from Cowessess owe money on their funerals, and I think somehow or another we got to help those people out.
Yes, absolutely, and those are our top priority items, as well as for seniors. We have seniors needs, as well as post-secondary, and as well as funerals. And that's honestly what we're trying to figure out, is own source revenue in order to immediately address that even before the 1907. Contessa?
Hi there. I just have a question about the community, the Nation Talk. Will you guys be having maybe a way that the community can reach out to you before those dates, so that maybe some repeating questions that the community has that you can address in a whole? Because I see there's only 2 hours per month for that. Will that kind of be discussed? And I'm just throwing it out there as an idea, like some kind of email or some kind of like place they can drop their questions, and then you see, oh, there's a lot of these questions. That way in those 2 hours, the community could have those questions answered. I'm just curious.
Yeah, we're actually, my name's Corey, I'm the communications guy. We're actually working on Microsoft Forms. We kind of launched some of it internally with the office there, just asking general questions and that kind of thing. But what we're planning to do is to actually launch a much larger thing, so that, and it's going to be regularly on the website, and also getting email blasted out and that kind of thing, creating email lists and stuff like that, so that when you email through the form, you're also able to leave questions and comments and that kind of thing, and also provide valuable feedback that the leadership here could also utilize in the work that they're doing to help with them making better informed decisions. But at the same time too, it's also to create this interaction. And part of that too that I want to look into is how we can utilize those forms on the app, so that it doesn't just exist in one spot, you know what I mean? So that you're able to access these things multiple different ways and have that ability to be able to ask those questions, to be able to have those discussions, right? That's actually one thing that leadership here really value, is a lot of the feedback coming back from members.
Tracy's hustling over to you. Oh.
Okay. We have our Cree class usually on Thursdays from, what is it, 6 to 8. Yeah. So if you get the new Cree teacher, will she be able to change our date so that we can participate in these Thursday nights?
Oh. If there's a conflict, and also like, so the Cree or the language lead works with Darian, so they all work together. So we will make sure that that you're able to participate in both.
Okay, good.
language. Darian got his teachings from the TH dialect. That's not ours. We're the Y dialect. So I'm hoping this Bill, or whoever he is, uses the Y dialect. That's our dialect in this area. The Y dialect.
Right.
It's not a question, I do have a concern. When you look around the room, where's our young people? Our young people do not get involved. They don't come to the meetings, they don't come to the fundraising. For too long, we've been a nation of handing out to the younger families, and they expect that. I don't know how many of you are aware, but on the nation now, we have approximately 75 people that are 65 and over, and many that are 50 and over. So we're getting to be an old nation. So how do we engage our younger people to get involved in the nation? We do a lot of fundraising. We don't get no support from the young people. Every year we do fundraisers for Christmas to give those kids a gift. The young people don't come and support, and yet they get a gift. All we ask is bring a dessert for their dinner. I wrote down some other things too, because I'm thinking about our single people, how desperate we need homes. At one time, I did a list. There was 53 people on our nation that are still living with parents. We're in desperate need of housing for our single people. Another concern that I had was staff drug testing. If we want to have a healthy community, we need to start at the top. Maybe it's against the Charter of Rights or whatever, but if we want to clean up our community, let's start at the top. Let's start testing our staff. Maybe even start testing those on social assistance. Because as a mother, I'm a broken mom, and my kids carry that addiction. No matter how hard we pray or do whatever to help them, it's a choice of their own. I want to talk about culture too, because a lot of our pipe carriers, we have a few pipe carriers in the community, and these pipe carriers didn't get their teachings from on the reserve year. They got the Soto teachings, they got the Nakota, they got the Lakota, different teachings from different nations. We've been struggling for years, like what's Cowessess' way? I believe that we need to encourage, it doesn't matter which way they go for spirituality, let's encourage them. I always said maybe we need to bring all our pipe carriers together for our community and do a pipe ceremony together, the men and the women pipe carriers. Because we really need to do something, but however, we're not the only nation that's struggling with addiction. It's all over. It's in the rural areas. I'll leave my other list for housing for the next meeting.
Thank you for that. I know that John that when we talked about that multi-generational learning, and that's kind of the stuff that we're talking about, is the younger ones to know how to do the things that the other ones are doing, you know. And so we're putting together that strategy. Councillor John is very committed to the youth council, and we will be putting the support behind that youth council in order to get that done. And we have definitely talked about drug testing, including all of us as council have also talked about that, you know, that's a conversation that we need to have. And in fact, around the table, we all said that we would be comfortable even ourselves getting tested as well, you know. Quit looking like that. This guy. You know, so absolutely, it does start in order to have a healthy community, you know, but like you had said with human rights and everything like that, we're looking across the board and to see, like, even as council here, we can volunteer to do that, you know, but it's a different thing to enforce that when there's human rights. And so we're looking at seeing how we could address the issue of drug testing and or people that are utilizing, especially those hard drugs, in, you know, maybe when they're working or serving the community. And what was the other one? Sorry. With the housing. We have already, when we are talking about that land use, we are already talking about single person units and how to support single people, and especially if they require programs and services, and bringing people home and the rehabilitation and the reintegration into community. So we're definitely talking about that when we're looking at those future plans. And was that all of the concerns? Thank you for that, though. Oh, and the culture and language. Sorry, the culture and language one is that we're having a culture and language evening. What is the date? November the 4th. And hopefully the community will come in and be able, and the people themselves, the culture and language unit themselves, will be able to address those concerns, because I don't think any of us feel adequate in being able to speak for them. But whatever the community wants, I know that they're dedicated to bringing to the community.
I'm very proud of it. However, it's not our dialect.
Mm-hmm.
There's different dialects.
Yes. Tracy?
Oh, that's me. Oh. Going back to health, years back when I and Audrey worked as home care, I just worked for 6 months for the band, but there was always somebody on call on weekends, especially like there's a lot of us that are single, widows, older, you know. Who do we call on weekends if we need help? I and Audrey used to be on call each in turn. I wasn't qualified home care worker, but I helped. And I went when I was supposed to go on weekends, like go and make meals for somebody. I'm still could make my own meal, but there's, in years to come, I might not be able.
Right.
When I and Audrey used to work as home care, we take turns to be on call on weekends. There's nobody we could call after Friday 4:30 or 4 o'clock, whatever. Especially on paydays, it's 4 o'clock, I think. You know?
Yes.
Maybe earlier, maybe earlier, because like sometimes, I'm thankful Heather's here. I was sick, and she called the ambulance for me. She didn't take me. I said, no. You're tired today? I said, just phone the ambulance. And I go to Mosman instead of Melville, and I stayed there for 7 days because I was really sick. Mm-hmm. I thank Heather for being there for me. And Ayola, of course, he's just running with Tylenol and everything and water.
Aww.
But I'd like to see that back again, who we could call somebody on call on weekends and help for older people, mm-hmm. or even younger ones, if they haven't got a ride. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for that, and we'll definitely be bringing that back because it is a need, absolutely.
There are some questions online.
Okay, we have.
So we got, okay, I'll scroll up a little bit here. We got Haley. He's asking, or she's asking, what do urban grade 12 students get? What do urban grade 12 students get?
At graduation time, or?
It must be graduation time, yeah.
Do you want to? Through the education program, they get $250, And that's also one of the areas that we're looking into because we know that that amount, holy cow, apparently in 1908, when Barry graduated from high school, he got 250, so we better, inflation must have happened since then. Oh, and then we have another one, 1992, 250. So in 89, I got 250 too. It's definitely time to meet the times and to really help people in the way that they need to be helped.
And we got Haley asking, she asked us twice, what happened to the 25 cows that are missing? There's 25 cows missing.
Okay, so
What happened to the 25 cows?
Cowessess, I don't know if, sure. It's actually a short and sweet answer. Counselor.
Yeah, the 25 cows could be anywhere. We're not really sure where they are, but 25 cows were in an unsupervised pasture that the guy leased from Cowessess First Nation. With me being involved in cows and grass all my life, I got a lot of phone calls from the local people up north here where the cows went missing from about what happened to them, and even a lot of them are speculating. You really hate to say anything, but I think them cows might have been due somewhere, you know. The RCMP don't know nothing about it. We think they were whisked away. It's really hard. I really can't say nothing. But Cowessess in the First Nation has absolutely nothing to do with them. It was unsupervised pasture. The guy rented the pasture, put the cows in there himself. The terms are he's supposed to maintain the fence and look after the well-being of the herd. They were supposed to be out there by October 15th, and obviously they're out there now. Just nobody knows where they are. Being a First Nation, we're gonna take it hard. They're gonna hit us hard being a First Nation because I follow it lots, and there's 7 herds now missing, anywhere from 2 to 25 from Alberta to Saskatchewan here, and it's not on us. I'll tell you guys. I'll tell all the crowd right now. It's not on us. It's not on Cowessess First Nation.
Yes, but Councillor Terry was very long-winded in the fact of just saying that land, it was leased land. Those were not our cows. We are not responsible for them. They are the person who leased the land, his cows. And so we have nothing to do with them other than the fact that that's our land that he leased. But those aren't our cows. There's no loss to the nation. There is no liability to the nation at all.
Okay. So the next question is from Gina Daniels. If post-secondary funding can be increased in the next fiscal year, will post-secondary funding be increased in the next fiscal year?
Thanks, Gina, for that question, and hope you're doing well. Once again, as soon as we're able to really get a handle on where finance is, and we're able to see the OSR, and we're able to make that plan, we are committed to raising those rates for both post-secondary as well as funerals. But until we get that, and we hope by the end of next month or the end of December, that we will be able to have a good idea of where we're at. So we really hope it'll be soon.
Yeah, and then Dustin Adjikude is asking, can there be funding for skilled trades programs / apprenticeship tuition books living allowance?
So for right now, the post-secondary decision was made that anything under two years, that unless it's on reserve and it's part of a program, that whatever urban area that they live in, or what's called a contribution agreement area or a contribution area, they take on the cost for that. So there is, through LFD, There is an amount for anything under 2 years, and depending on what city you live in across Canada, you go to that agency that delivers the LFD or the assets agreement, ISETS, agreement that that it's called, and they are the ones that are able to fund those programs, whether they're 2 weeks or up to two years.
Okay, thank you. Tracy Gray Delorme on Zoom asks, what's the process of moving your own home onto First Nation or Teele land?
There's right now, we are in the middle, like housing, like Councillor Ira said, we are prioritizing the policy, which policies that we are going to be amending, and housing is one of those that will be amended and looked at as a priority policy, and we hope to address that issue within the policy changes that are coming up. Sure.
It's all possible right now because we do have designated land. You have to write up what we're doing with our businesses, and I think members could. There is a process right now where most of our TLE lands and some of our original reserve lands are designated for lease. So the process would probably be to get Al to write up a head lease for certain parts that these members want to move their house on, and then come up with a 99-year lease, which is, or 10-year lease, or however it can go up to 99 years that they can get a permit to lease the land to put their house on, and it's all through legal terms. They could even go to the bank and take that to the bank and get a loan to build a house or build more on that land.
As long as it's TLE non-reserve land.
Yeah. Well, there is designated on original reserve too, so, but that's up to the council.
Oh. Yeah, we're trying to work that out, but that will be looked at within there. There are provisions right now, but it's very complicated in how to get to that place. And so what we're trying to do is find out how to make it simpler for people in order to do that.
Okay, and
Thank you, former TLE chairperson Barry, for that answer also.
well, just as a quick backup to that one, will that include land in Yorkton as well? That comes from Haley.
So, as we talked about before, we are putting together a land use plan, and so with that, we are hoping that all of those questions will be addressed and opportunities will be found within that land use plan.
Okay, and George Laura asks, this is a question for Curtis. George Laura is asking, when will we be having First Nation teachings in urban places or find any type of elders to work within the city?
Any type of what?
Elders.
So what part of that is in process, and it is on the table with discussions with our culture and language team. So they won't specifically just be based on the home nation. We are taking it outside to our urban centers also, so it will be accessible whether it's in person, and then also to the tech world where it'll be on the web, where we could also access it for our members that are not able to attend or we can't get to those cities. But it is on the process. It is in the process. It will be something that I'll be working with our urban department with Jody and all them. But it is in the process. I know we did start the grief and loss up there, and that's one part of the program that was asked already by a member and was brought in. So they have continuous four-week programs of grief and loss with an individual, and they just finished one at the end of October, I think it was, or September, and they'll be starting back up in November again.
Thank you, Curtis. We have Thomas Brask on Zoom chat is asking, and it's just a reiteration. I know we discussed this earlier in the program. When will the band submit the claim for the agricultural benefits, aka cows and plows?
As discussed earlier, that is in the research area right now, and we've been concentrating on all of our efforts on the 1907. But we have discussed going to procurement for legal, as well as looking at putting in the statement of claim. So what we're trying to do is create processes that are transparent and that allow for other opportunities. And we anticipate, though, putting in the AgBen's statement of claim within the next 12 months for sure.
Thank you, Chief. A question from, question from Tina. Will Cowessess ever have a treatment/detox/healing center?
If we dream it, it will happen, I guess is the best way to say that. And that's really what, we know that what's out there right now, especially with the heavy drugs, that our people, we're all very pitiful, whether we're family members or the people that are addicted themselves, in the types of treatment that's available. And so we have spoken about, especially with the 1907, really pushing the envelope in addressing especially hard drug addiction, including a wide range, right from the secured medical detox to outreach to independence throughout that whole process that a person goes through. We've lost too many of our loved ones, and we continue to have children that are growing up without mothers and fathers and kokums and mushums, and we take it very seriously. And Councillor Josh talked a little bit about that mental health aspect, but it's the addictions and the community wellness and safety that we are completely committed to prioritizing and working on. And I see a question in the back over there. Oh, just hold on. We're going to make you a star.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank Carol for the prayer, and I'd like to thank everybody for being here and being from the Urban Center in Regina. But some of the questions I'd like to ask is that when you're talking about these claims that are coming and the personal money we are going to get, is it possible for an individual band member or a family put that money and invest it in one of Cowessess ventures?
That's an exciting thing to put on the table. So let's put it on the table.
And also another question I'd like is, with this money that's coming, that is going to the community, and we talk about the homelessness people from our First Nation and the people that need housing, whether it's an elder, younger people, a family. Now, when that money comes to the community, will some of that money be made to be able to build houses? And when we're talking about building houses, we know how long it takes to build a house. Now, can these buildings be made to be built quicker, such as modular homes, modular duplexes, row housing, things like that, so it's done quicker for the people that need the homes? So is some of that money going to be used to build homes?
And once again, and I'm not trying to be any way, but to say that honestly, everything is on the table right now, especially with community initiatives, community investments, and community buildings. And so when we go out and we hear from the community, such as what you're saying, what is it that you as our community members want us to do? And if that's part of it, or how we can make it happen, let's make it happen.
Thank you.
Good evening, elders. My name is Jeannie Haywahe, and I just want to say something like about Rhonda's comments about our young people being involved. If we want our young people involved, it's up to you, me, her, to bring our kids here. If my kids were band members, they would be here tonight. But they're not band members, they don't come to these kind of things. But if we want our children involved, it's up to the parents and the grandparents to get them involved, because you can tell them, we're going to a meeting tonight, and go, and just leave them at home. But if you went to your child and said, get ready, we're going to a band meeting tonight, you need to voice your concern, come to the meeting. And another thing about the drugs is it starts from home. It can't just be like smoking weed or whatever. It has to be the pills. Prescription drug use is bad, just as bad as any kind of hard drug use too. So if you're gonna do a drug test on that, you have to start right from the top, like Rhonda said, and test for the abuse of prescription drugs also. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. That's well heard, and I agree.
Hi, I'm Shelley. I work with the youth. That's one of my main roles in the community. Suggestion to get them out in the community is hold a specific chief and council meeting just for them. Youth are intimidated by us, but they also look up to us on how we act in our community, how we report to each other. These youth are watching. They watch us in everything we do, and I host a lot of programming in the community. Let's host a chief and council meeting for these youth. You'll honestly get them speaking. There's different ways to go about it, whether it's engagements, but there is ways we can to get these youth out here. My youth, I have an 18-year-old who wouldn't come here and listen because they don't really even understand at our level. They hear what parents say amongst themselves at home. There's other things amongst there that play a key factor. You get them in this room with a leader, with asking them questions to put down what they want on the wall, you're gonna get answers. You're gonna get those things. Steps need to come from that table though. We can help support in any way possible, but hold a chief and council meeting just for them. Invite them into the chambers. I think that's a start to allowing them that voice, giving them that power, because like we can do all of this, but again, like there's barely anybody here. Even for my age, 35 and younger, you know, where's everybody? Like, and it's usually those are the ones that are on Facebook complaining. So let's speak to that and just do things. We can come together as a community to do these.
Thank you so much. And I think that what we can do is we could commit to making that happen, so thank you for that. Thank you very much. Yes. Oh, just one sec. Heather?
Sorry. Talking about addictions and, you know, our youth and homelessness, we forget about mental health. You know, there's a lot struggling out there with mental health. We have good programming out here, but it's not getting them out. For instance, Al-Anon. I was so happy, thrilled to see that Al-Anon was coming out. Unfortunately, it was a day I couldn't be out to attend the meeting. But I think Al-Anon is such an important program that we need in our communities, because if we have addictions in our communities, we have people that are suffering from it. We also need that help for mental well-being as ourselves, dealing with addictions and dealing with people's mental health. And also we need to look at getting a place where people that are suffering with mental health, you know, where they can come to instead of being couch surfers and having to stay in a home that pulls them into the addictions, pulls them into the drugs and alcohol, because that's the only place they have to stay that night. I know I talked to a few counselors during campaign time, and that was my big thing, was mental health, our youth in mental health, them being couch surfers, them having to leave the community thinking there's a better community in the city, and where do they get to? Tent City. They're not moving forward once they leave here with their mental health issues or their addiction issues. They're leaving our community to go be homeless, to fall into more addictions. As a community, we need to start supporting these programs that we have, NAAA, the grief group, you know, the women's, the men's group, Al-Anon. Just come to an Al-Anon meeting, come to an NA meeting, come and listen and be supportive to our members that are struggling. Then they can see that our community cares about us because they're here to help them. So I really, really am struggling right now with 2 young men under 30 with mental health and homelessness, falling into addictions. So here are pleas for those people with mental health that can't be here and speak up for themselves. And please all come to an Al-Anon meeting or send somebody, come and listen to see how we can support our community.
Thanks, Heather. Are there any other questions or?
Yeah, there's a couple.
Okay, I think that what we're going
There's a couple questions
we're going
online.
to take a couple
Two more questions.
Oh, sorry.
2 more questions.
We have
Okay.
we have 2 also in the audience, and we'll take 1 online, and then we'll go to Dennis.
Okay. The one online is how is the partnership with SEC building capacity for Indigenous representation within the college itself and promoting our Indigenous students? I'm not sure. How is the partnership with SEC building capacity for Indigenous representation within the college itself and promoting our Indigenous students? I'm not sure what that.
Kelly, can you inbox me and let me know? Just be a little bit more clear with that question. SEC. SEC.
Am I there?
Yep, you're on.
I'd just like to make something clear that the drug testing has been around for at least 50 years. I believe they went to court years and years ago. Years ago, you had to take a piss test because now the testing is more advanced. You don't have to piss in a little jug anymore. You know, I mean, years ago it was embarrassing because the tester had to watch you pee, you know, and I mean, he didn't have to laugh and point, you know. No, but I believe it went to court already because there was lots of projects that I worked on. It was mandatory to take a drug test. Otherwise, you didn't get on the site. Yeah, so for the council to refuse to take a drug test is what have they got to hide, you know? So if you got nothing to hide, take the test. You know, so that, like they say, it all starts from the top. So if all our councillors are drug-free, good, you know, but I remember 50 years ago I had to take a drug test. And I do believe, if I remember right, that it did go to court for personal, whatever they call it. Yeah, because,
we're talking about it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And we're definitely, it's on the table for sure. So I know that we're losing people as fast as anything. On behalf of our council, thank you for listening tonight. Thank you for caring enough to be here. We've come a long ways. We have a long ways to go. For the people that are traveling to Regina, or myself, I'm traveling to Saskatoon tonight for a 9 o'clock meeting tomorrow morning. Traveling mercies, and we're here. We're here to listen, and we're here to move. So thank you very much. And thank you to all those that attended via Zoom as well.